Student teaching is one of the best parts about becoming a teacher because you finally get to be in a classroom for a long period of time. To make sure you get the most out of your student teaching, I have a few tips. And if you are a cooperating teacher who is hosting a student teacher, I have some tips for you too. If you're new here, I'm Rachel Vincent and I share tips on how to run an effective and efficient classroom so you can get more done and still have time to teach. This first part is for the student teachers. And this is your time to be in a classroom where you have support from a mentor teacher. This is the time where you can try things and see if they work, and if they don't, it's okay, because again, you have that support from somebody before you get your first classroom and you're on your own. So my first piece of advice would be to write everything down. Everything you think, whether it's a book idea, a lesson idea, an activity, a decoration you want to put in your classroom. Maybe it's even just how the teacher you're observing is wording something. Write it down, because I promise you, you will forget by the time you have your first classroom. And to kind of go along with that is to take pictures of everything. There's several reasons why you want to have all these pictures. The first reason is that way you can reference them when you are in your classroom and you want to recreate it. You can also use those pictures in your teaching portfolio when you go to interview, and you can tell the interviewers that although you haven't had your own classroom, this is what you want to do in your classroom and this is how you want it to look. Observe as many classrooms as you can. Yes, you're going to learn a lot from the classroom you are placed in, but you want to be able to observe other grade levels, because you never know what grade you're going to end up teaching, and other teachers, because every teacher has their own style and their own way of doing things. So the more you can observe, the more you can sort of begin to figure out what you like and what you don't like. Do as much as you can. If your cooperating teacher will allow, do anything that they will allow you to do. Ask to take over lessons sooner. Ask to do this. Ask to do as much as you can, because again, now is the time where you have that support right away. If you're making a mistake or if something's not going well, there's a teacher right there beside you to jump in and help out. Build relationships with your students from day one. Typically, most student teachers teach during the spring semester, which means the group of students you are teaching will have already spent half of a year together. So you are the newcomer, so you want to try and build those relationships as soon as possible so that when you begin to take over teaching, you have that rapport with them. Treat it like it was the beginning of the year and you're introducing yourself. Ask your cooperating teacher if you can do like a meet the teacher where you get to share with the students all about your personal life so that they get to kind of feel connected to you. Maybe give student interest surveys so that you can begin to learn about them. Because you have a limited time in the classroom, you want to try to build those relationships as soon as possible. Play with them at recess, eat lunch with them, get to know them on that personal level so that when it's time to take over, you have those connections already. Classroom management is typically the hardest part, whether you're student teaching or just a teacher in general. So my best advice is to be firm, be fair, and be consistent. It is hard when you first start trying to manage 20+ personalities. So you have to start off right away, and consistency is key. Oftentimes you are placed in a classroom where the teacher has been teaching for many years. As a veteran teacher myself, I know that oftentimes I do things that are just second nature. I don't think about it and I just do it. So if you don't understand why a teacher is doing something, or you don't understand what they're doing, ask the teacher, because it's not that we don't want to share it with you, it's that we don't think about how we should share it with you. This next part is for my fellow cooperating teachers. You have graciously opened up your classroom to allow a student teacher to come in and learn from you. So the best thing to do is from the very beginning is set expectations. Let them know the expectations you have for them, what time you expect them to be there, how long you expect them to stay. If you aren't showing up until right before the bell rings, should you really expect them to? Each college and university is different about the expectations of taking over lessons and when they're supposed to do that and what kind of lesson plans they need to complete. So make sure you know what the university or college expects, but then think about what do you expect as well. I typically lean on the side of if I'm not expected to do it, I'm not going to expect the student teacher to do. So for instance, I only plan ELA, and as long as their college and university is okay with it, then I'm just going to have mine plan ELA. Give your student teacher as much information as possible. Remember, you have spent half of the year getting to know your students and knowing about their academic abilities and knowing their personal lives. So you know all that information and you've had half of a year to do it. Your student teacher is coming in who does not know these students and needs to have that information quickly because they're going to take over teaching, and the process of their student teaching tends to be sort of this condensed, fast and furious version. One thing I've done that has really helped me and my student teacher is to create a binder of information that I feel is useful to my student teacher. So I'm gonna walk you through what I've included in my binder so that if you'd like to do the same, you can too.
Student teaching binder that I created to help my student teacher. So the first thing I did was just get a 3-ring binder and then put her name on it. And then the first page is just all of the information. Now, I know she probably has like school information, and we've already talked, but I want to make sure she has my cell phone. And then all the names of like the related arts teachers, special teachers that our students see, the other 4th grade teachers that she'll be working with, and just the office staff. So she has everyone's name. And so when she hears somebody talking about somebody, she knows. And then I gave her a class list with our student numbers, so she knows which student is which numbers, because we use numbers for several things throughout the classroom. And then this is where I gave her the detailed information about our student's name, their birthday, their age, and any medical concerns they may have. And then I gave her a reading level. We use Fontes and Pinnell. So I gave them their Fontes and Pinnell level, their math level, if they have an IEP or 504, and if they have any special services like intervention, gifted and talented, resource, those things. So she knows right away which students that she needs to work with at the different levels. And then this is where I included any of the accommodations for the students that do have IEPs in our classroom. Because she is certified to be in our classroom, she is allowed to have all of this information. And then I also gave her a transportation list just in case I am not in the classroom during dismissal. She would know which students go where. Then I broke down our typical daily schedule and then our related arts special area schedule so that she would know where students are going at what time. And then we have a lot of students who get pulled out for different services. So I wanted to make sure she knew which day they were going, what times they were going, which students were going for what, and which teacher was pulling them, so that as she begins to take over lessons and plan lessons, she knows. Then I gave her sort of a rundown of our morning meeting. Each day is a different topic. And then our student of the week, so that she knows what the students get to do each day. And even if, she may not necessarily need this to actually take over teaching, but this might be an idea that she wants to use in her class next year, so she sort of has a breakdown of that. And then I included recurring tasks that need to be done daily, weekly, and monthly so that she can help me do some of the tasks, and so that when she's planning for her class next year, she knows what to do. And then I went over our classroom expectations, the rewards I use, the consequences I use. And I have a conversation with her that I want her to try these because that's what the students are used to. But if it doesn't work, then we will change it and do what will work for her, because I want her to be successful and to learn that this doesn't always work. So sometimes we need to try other things. Then I gave her a seating chart. And then I went through and wrote down all of our common procedures so that she knows as she begins to take over some of these transition times, she knows how we do things in our classroom. So I just kind of went through everything that I thought she would want to know so that as she's trying to implement these things, she has it. This is similar to what I would leave for a sub as well, just so that she knows. And then of course our emergency procedures so that she has all of that information. And I haven't given her a small group schedule yet. We are revamping our small groups based on our most current benchmark assessment. So when this is ready to go, I will give this to her when we start to do that. I did give her some blank checklist, gradebook, however she wants to use it, just to have, and then a couple of lesson reflections as she begins to teach how she would want to change and what works, and then just some classroom observation forms as she's observing different classrooms. And then the last section is just a place for her to collect ideas as she sees them. What kind of books do we use? What kind of lesson ideas? Different activities that we do with our lessons, different games that we do with lessons, and even like our Team Building Tuesday stuff, procedures she wants to use in her classroom, lesson ideas she likes, organization ideas, environment ideas, like what she likes about the classroom walls and setting, technology, websites that she can use, and then websites, usernames, and passwords that she will need as she begins to take over. And then she has two empty tabs that she can use however she wants. I also have the ones with the pocket so that she can, add stuff into it and make this notebook her own, because this is a gift to her.
Most student teachers are going to gradually take over the lessons until they're full-time teaching. So ask your student teacher what they want to do as far as the takeover schedule. What subjects do they feel more comfortable with, and let them start maybe with those first and then build up to it. But also, if the university says they have to have a minimum of this amount of time, see if they're ready to take over sooner, because the more opportunities they have to be teaching and taking over the class while you are there to support them, the better off they will be in the fall when they have their own classroom. Don't just hand over the classroom to your student teacher. Work in some time where you can do some co-teaching and share the responsibility. One thing my student teacher and I are doing is we are sharing the responsibility when it comes to small groups. I'm not just giving her all the small group instruction, because I know that is a tough area to try and manage personally. So I want to make sure that I'm setting her up for success to where she's learning how to do small group instruction, but also I want to make sure my kids are still being successful in getting the information and the instruction they need. So we are splitting the small group instruction responsibilities. Be open to something different. Allow your student teachers to bring in their creativity and try things differently in your classroom. I have told mine from the beginning, I want you to try how I do it, and if it doesn't work for you and you don't like it, then let's have a conversation of how we can make it work for you. What can we change? What can we do differently so that you feel comfortable trying doing strategies in the classroom? Explain why you do some of the things you do. And I know personally this sometimes is hard for me, like I said earlier, where it just comes second nature to me and I just automatically do it. So I told my student teacher at the very beginning to make sure you ask me if you don't understand. I'm gonna try harder to make sure I'm explaining why I'm doing this and what I'm doing. But also, if I just start doing something and you're like, hey, I can do that, then please ask to do it, because again, sometimes I don't even think about it, I just do it. Invite them to all the meetings. We know as educators, we have a lot of meetings to attend. Sometimes they're IEP meetings, sometimes they're parent conference, sometimes they're professional development or faculty meetings. Again, oftentimes the college and universities require them to attend certain things, but make sure you're inviting them so that they can experience what it's like before they have to do it on their own. Create a space for your student teacher. They're going to be there for 6 to 12 plus weeks, and for them having a space to come in and be every day where they can keep things and have materials at their hands, it's just helpful to make them feel like they are part of your classroom. I have the templates for my student teaching binder in my TPT store. There's a link in the description box below for you to grab those. Happy student teaching.